Hello everyone. The title of this presentation is Prediction of Whole Life Expectancy Data Using Multiple Linear Regression and Artificial Neural Network. But before we begin, let me introduce myself along with other group members involved with this project. I am Plavunjit Karmakar. Other members are Sambaran Saha, Sulagna Roy and Rupam Saha. Currently, we are in the final semester of Masters in Statistics under University of Kolkata. Okay, so let's start with introduction. What exactly is life expectancy? Life expectancy is a statistical measure of the average time an organism is expected to live based on the year of its birth, its current age, and other demographic factors. Life expectancy at birth is the most commonly used measure worldwide. Now, we will discuss about a few key factors affecting life expectancy. Life expectancy may be outcome of multiple factors such as diet, lifestyle, heredity, genetic, marital status, local standard of healthcare, GDP, immunization, socio-economic status, access to clean water and fresh food supply, community and social support, education, pollution, and many more. Next, we will discuss importance and uses of life expectancy. There are many uses for it worldwide. The most important use of life expectancy is in clinical researches. There are many uses for it in the financial world, including pricing and underwriting life insurance premiums, retirement and annuity planning, actuarial science, and social security benefits. Apart from this, it is used to determine Human Development Index, physical quality of life, and income inequality. The dataset we used for our project was provided by the Kaggle.com website. It is a free open source platform to all. This dataset has usability rating 8.2. The data consists of 2938 rows and 22 columns. Here, life expectancy is our response or dependent variable, and the regressors are as follows. Here we have excluded the column of country and year because these are irrelevant to our study. Now, let's have a look at the structure of the data. All the variables are numerical except status, which has two categories, developing and developed. Now, I would like to give a short introduction about R programming. Here we are using R language for our analysis. R is one of the major open source languages for data analytics. R provides a wide variety of statistical techniques, visualization, features, and it is highly extensible. Let's move on to data visualization. From the pie chart, we can see that almost 82.6% of total dataset points come from developing countries and 17.4% come from developed countries. Again, from the box plots, we see that average life expectancy in developed countries is around 80 years and spread is less compared to developing countries, whereas in developing countries, average life expectancy is around 70 years. There are some outliers in the developing data points. Now, we will try to figure out the relationship of each regressor with response variable, that is life expectancy. The red dots correspond to developed country and the blue dots correspond to developing countries. We can see adult mortality is negatively related, whereas income composition of resources and schooling is highly positively related with life expectancy. Now, I would like to discuss the objectives of this study. In this project, we are going to find out the following factors. Firstly, whether the initially chosen predicting factors really affect the life expectancy or not. Secondly, the impact of immunization coverage on life expectancy. Next, whether we can build a reliable predictive model to predict the life expectancy in future or for any external dataset. and at last the type of correlation between life expectancy and other factors like smoking, exercise, lifestyles, alcohol consumptions, etc. Before we move on to the modeling part, let me give a brief summary through a basic flowchart. We will start with understanding the problem statement. Next, we will deal with data preprocessing. After that, we split the data in training and testing dataset in the ratio 80:20. Then we feed the model on the trained data and deploy it on test dataset. At last, we will evaluate the model performance and accept the solution. So, let's move on to multiple linear regression modeling. Our multiple linear model is y equals to x beta plus epsilon, where y is vector of responses, x is vector of regressors, beta is vector of unknown parameters, and epsilon is error of linear model. Next, model assumptions. Here we assume errors are IID with expectation 0 and variance sigma square in. Secondly, explanatory variables are independent, that is, x is of full column rank. Now, let's start with data preprocessing. For any machine learning algorithms to work, it is very important step. At first step, we will drop some of the columns which may not contribute much to our machine learning model, such as country, year. Next, we can see that a lot of values are missing in the data. If we delete those rows completely, we might lose a large amount of data. So, instead of removing the missing values completely, we have used data imputation technique. We have replaced the missing cells by interpolation, and at last we have removed remaining null values. From the histogram and box plot of the regressors, it is evident that most of them are highly skewed. Skewed data is cumbersome and common. Data transformation comes to our aid in such situations. Here we have used log transformation and cube root transformation for skewed variables. Next, for ease of our study and modeling, we have renamed columns such as life expectancy to y and the other regressors as x1, x2 up to x19 likewise. Now, we will visualize multicollinearity. A good way to quickly check correlations among columns is by visualizing the correlation matrix as a heat map. We see there is high correlation between x18, x19, x16, x17 and x3, x9. So we have removed x19, x16 and x9 from the data frame. Moving forward, we have to deal with outliers. In statistics, an outlier is defined as an observation which stands far away from the most of other observations. Here, we used Cook's distance to deal with outliers. Technically, Cook's distance di is calculated by removing the ith data point from the model and recalculating the regression. Decision rule. If di greater than 4 by n, where n is the number of rows in the dataset, then we conclude that point is an outlier. From the graph, the points above the red line are outliers. So we will exclude these points from dataset. At this point, we have divided the whole dataset in the training and testing data randomly in the ratio 80:20. At last, we will check multicollinearity by variance inflation factor. VIF greater than 5 is considered large and it suggests the presence of multicollinearity. So we will drop those columns from our model. So that completes data preprocessing for multiple linear regression. So now we have come to variable selection. Here we have applied three different strategies, namely forward selection, backward elimination and stepwise selection. After applying each strategy, we will check Malloch CP statistic, AIC and adjusted R-square criterion for variable selection. In Malloch CP statistic, we check the value of expectation of P for different P, where P is the number of regressors. We select the model for which expectation of P is approximately equals to P. As far as AIC is concerned, we simply choose the model giving smallest AIC over the set of models considered. Again, a model subset with highest adjusted R-square is preferred. The final model looks like this. We achieved adjusted R-square 0.8399 on training data. This means that 83.99% of total variability on training data is explained by this multiple linear regression model. Now, let's move on to model adequacy checking. We have applied the Shapiro-Wilk test to check normality. Here, the null hypothesis states sample comes from normally distributed population, and alternative hypothesis says sample does not come from normal population. Since p-value is less than 0.05, thus we reject the null hypothesis at 5% level of significance. Again, we can clearly see deviation between the points and the red line in the QQ plot. Hence, training data is non-normal. Next, we have applied the Bruce-Pagan test to check heteroscedasticity. Null hypothesis is the residual is homoscedastic. Alternative hypothesis is the residual is heteroscedastic. Since p-value is less than 0.05, thus we reject the null hypothesis at 5% level of significance. Hence, training data residual is heteroscedastic. Now, we have applied the Darwin-Watson test statistic to check for autocorrelation. Null hypothesis says the residuals are not autocorrelated, and alternative hypothesis says the residuals are autocorrelated. Since p-value is greater than 0.01, so we fail to reject the null hypothesis at 1% level of significance. Hence, the residuals are not autocorrelated. After deploying the trained model on the test data, we have adopted different performance evaluation functions such as mean square error, that is MSE, mean absolute percentage error, that is MEP, and accuracy. The results are tabulated in this table. Finally, we see that this multiple linear regression model violates homoscedasticity and normality assumptions. This encourages us to go for another algorithm that does not take into consideration normality. Okay, I have explained multiple linear regression model. Now I would like to discuss about our second algorithm, that is artificial neural network. ANN is an information processing model inspired by the biological neuron system. It has the ability to learn by examples. A neural network consists of three layers. Number 1, input layers. Input layers take inputs based on existing data. Number 2, hidden layers. These layers use backpropagation to optimize the weights of the input variables in order to improve the predictive power of the model. Number 3, output layers. Output layers gives predictions based on the data from the input and hidden layers. Before fitting a neural network, some preparation needs to be done. Neural networks are not that easy to train and tune. Data normalization is one of the most important procedures when forming a neural network. This involves adjusting to the data to a common scale to accurately compare predicted and actual values. We have used the min-max method to scale the data in the interval 0 to 1. Just like before, we used heat map to take care of multicollinearity. We see there is high correlation between x18, x19, x16, x17, x5, x14, x10, x12 and x3, x9. So, we have removed x19, x16, x10, x14 and x9 from the data frame to avoid overfitting. There is no fixed rule as to how many layers and neurons to use. As far as the number of neurons is concerned, it should be between the input layer size and the output layer size, usually 2/3 of the input size. The configuration of our neural network is 14:8:1. At this point, we have divided the whole dataset in training and testing data randomly in the ratio 80:20. After deploying the ANN model on test data, we get the following result. Now we will compare the both algorithms and their performance on the training and testing data based on MAC, MAP and accuracy. Now moving on to conclusion part, MLR model indicates that alcohol, BMI, polio, total expenditure, diphtheria, GDP and percentage expenditure have positive impact on life expectancy. On the other hand, measles, HIV/AIDS and thinness of 5 to 9 years have negative impact on life expectancy. It is evident that immunization coverage improves life expectancy. Both the models have performed exceptionally in predicting life expectancy, but MAC and MAP values suggest that neural network outperformed linear regression as they deal with non-linearity automatically with large number of inputs, whereas in linear regression you need to mention explicitly. So let's turn to future scopes. There are many scopes in future with this data. We can run cross-validation models to check if we can improve consistency in results. We can include the year column to do time series analysis, but for that we need more data. We can deploy other algorithms such as k-means or decision tree according to our requirements. At last, we can divide the whole dataset into two parts, one for developed country and another for developing country. Then we can again run multiple linear regression on that. We are almost at the end of my presentation, but before I finish, I must acknowledge our beloved sir Dr. Ganesh Datta for his guidance and motivation. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for your attention.